Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Cancer energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row is going to be high vibe Cancer energy. The bottom row is going to be a little more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. And some people could just be struggling within themselves. You know, we have our dualistic nature, we have our more hopeful, believing nature, but then we can have our more fearful, insecure, self-limiting belief nature. And some people could be struggling within themselves. They might want to move forward in life differently and step out of their comfort zone a little bit more. But it can be scary. So some people are struggling within themselves. Depending on what we align with within ourselves could affect who we align with in our world. And maybe we distance ourselves from some people because we have healed, we've grown, we've matured, we view life differently. And that can be hard to distance ourselves from some people in our life. But at any given moment, there are going to be some people who are moving forward in high vibe Cancer energy. They just can't keep living their life the way they've lived it. They've learned what they've needed to learn from that phase of life. They're ready to step out of their comfort zone and face some of their fears and insecurities. And when some people are ready to do that, some other people aren't. So sometimes people we wish that would move forward with us won't be moving forward with us, and sometimes it's just like you're going to go get a new job and other people aren't, things like that. Let's go look. And everybody taps into Cancer energy. And if you harness high vibe Cancer energy, you're motivated and inspired by love and facing your fears and growing and maturing and healing, and you're in a relationship with some other people who aren't, some of those people might harness a more worldly focused Cancer energy. And you kind of like to be in relationship with people who are on the same page as you. So the reason for the top rose reading is the Virgo Hermit, which talks about having gone within to gain some insight and understanding to deal with some of your fears and your insecurities and your self-limiting beliefs that could have been holding you back before. And that's how we gain insight and understanding, and the truth sets us free to live our life differently. It's also the reason for the reading. And you could have dealt with some people who harness their Virgo energy differently. Some of you could have been dealing with a Virgo, but what's more important is just how anyone you're dealing with, how they were handling their Virgo energy. Some people like to hide from the world. Instead of doing the inner work to deal with their issues, they just like to keep all those things hidden in the dark, and they don't want to bring them out into the light. They don't want to deal with them. So let's go look at the tarot story that goes with it. We have the Four of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles, the Scorpio Death card, and the Seven of Pentacles. We can all get in relationships with people where we're kind of on the same page, is what the Four of Pentacles can talk about. We're both at this certain stage of life. We've both learned certain lessons in life. And we could view life the same. There's a way of living life that we hold on to. And maybe at some point in time, nobody was willing to kind of be a student of life to want to change. Because the Scorpio Death card can talk about emotionally detaching from an old way of viewing life or living life, and to transform your life to move to the Seven of Pentacles. And the difference between the four and the seven is the three. And the Three of Pentacles can talk about the type of foundation that we're operating from. Maybe everybody was at a place in their life at one time where no one was ready to move forward in life any differently, because we were kind of all involved in however we were living our life. But there comes a time in our life where we are ready to emotionally detach from some old ways of living life to give birth to something new, and to let go of some old ways of being to invest in some new ways of being. And the Seven of Pentacles can talk about our philosophy of life, how we view life, how we view ourselves, how we view others, our perception of the world. And as we go through life, we get older. We were 18, 21, 25, 30, 35, 40. We're not the same person, odds are, at a later phase of life. as we were at a previous phase of life. But sometimes we get in relationships with people and we're living our life a certain way, but the other people don't ever want to change. Whatever way and philosophy of life that they have about how they view the world, how they like to view relationships and people they're in relationship with, and just how they view relationships, they don't like it to change. And they want everybody to keep staying like the same. But most people don't stay the same. We have our fears and our insecurities, we have our self-limiting beliefs. And that could have been the difference, that one person kind of does have that more youthful, hopeful, believing spirit about them, is kind of a student of life, is willing to go with the flow, is motivated and inspired, that when their intuition tells them it's time for me to let go of this old way of living life, I've kind of learned everything I needed to learn there. It's time to face my fears about change, detach from some old ways of viewing life, to face my fears, to give birth to something new. And I am willing to incorporate the lessons that I've learned from how I have lived my life into my philosophy of life, where my philosophy of life gets bigger. We go from the 4 to the 7. I've learned lessons in life. I've grown, I've healed, I've matured. I've expanded my perception of how I view myself and what I think I'm capable of. I've shed some of my fears and my insecurities. But we can get in relationships with people where they harness this energy differently. And it can be aligning with their more worldly nature. And so that could be the way of viewing life, and they don't want to expand their perception of how they view the world. They don't want to detach from a certain philosophy of life and viewing the world. And maybe some of them had a more, were more aligned with viewing life and how they felt makes them, their definition of being victorious in life was more about the world, where we conform to the world, we make our life maybe more about ego and image and money and materialism. And they could be a person who, I'm happy living my life like that. I have no interest in kind of looking at life as an adventure to be lived. I'm not someone who has a dream of like becoming all I can be in any other way than what the world tells me is important. And sometimes some people, we're in the high vibe row here. Sometimes some people who are more aligned with their loving, hopeful, believing, intuitive nature are more willing to go with the flow, are willing to be a student of life, are motivated to grow to like their full potential. Over time, they do that, but they could have gotten in a relationship with someone who thought they'd be willing to do that. But when it came to the fact that they really had to kind of maybe emotionally detach from an old foundation, that can be their original family or a friend group or just a way of viewing life, to expand it basically and be more open to change, be um maybe invest more in their more loving, intuitive nature, or being more just and fair in a relationship. And so maybe the Page of Pentacles can represent all the Earth sign energies. Maybe you realize you kind of harness all your Earth sign energies differently. Your Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus energy. Because we do have all 3 Earth signs out here. This is Capricorn, this is Taurus, this is Virgo. And some people could hide their more hopeful, believing nature and could hide their own unique skills and interests to conform to the world. Some people might have been hiding. They were more immature and maybe fearful of change, but they wanted to be in relationships with people. And then they can get in relationships with people who are more hopeful and believing and loving and are more open to change than they are. And that's kind of when we could find out that they could have been hiding that they do harness these energies in a little bit more shadowy way, which can be, I'm not willing to be a student of life. I'm good. I got a job. I got money. Might have stability and security and enjoying some of the finer things in life. And I'm good. Why change? In order to change, we have to see the truth. And some people don't want to see the truth, that there might be some things that they're holding on to that they really need to let go of, because it stops them from becoming all they can be. And, the Four of Pentacles can represent being a little more selfish or unwilling to open up and more freely give of yourself, or being open to healing or growing or maturing. And some people don't ever want to do that inner work. The things that they keep hidden in the dark, they like to keep hidden in the dark. And some of them could harness more shadowy Scorpio energy, where they might like to keep a lot of their emotions buried beneath the surface. We have 3 earth sign energies here. So they might have a more hopeful, believing, loving nature, but they kind of reject that. That's not what they want to invest in secretly. They kind of hide the fact that they don't really want to connect in with their maybe more emotionally vulnerable, loving nature. And they think, I can get in a relationship with people, and I think those people should also be willing to live their life the way I live my life. And if we've moved forward in a relationship and we seem to have the stability and the security and the status or the image or everything, where everything looks good, why change? But if you've been illuminated to the truth, and you have shed some of your fears and your insecurities and your self-limiting beliefs, and if you do have some unique talent, skills, and interests that you maybe didn't even know were something you were interested in, but then as time goes by, you do start to connect in with some more things that maybe interest you, that maybe before you weren't even looking at or interested in. But that's part of life too. They're, you know, just living life. It's like, gee, maybe that would be interesting. Maybe I would like to learn more about that. Maybe that is something that, you find these things that interest you, and then you want to invest in those things. And you could have felt like in that environment, and with all the pentacles here, it can represent a lot of things. It can represent workplaces, family dynamics, friendship groups, romantic relationships. Maybe you kind of felt like you couldn't do that. Like people didn't want you to invest in that. And you kind of wondered why. Why don't they want me to invest in that? And why do I feel like maybe I can't be more authentically myself? Like, why can't I give birth to new things in this relationship or how I live my life? So we'll probably get a little more on that as we go. Sometimes we can hold on to a relationship for a long time or a job, and we kind of want to stay in denial of the truth, and we don't want to speak our truth, because then that's going to change the whole dynamic. So there might be some people right now that could be doing some inner work, and part of it could be that there are some things that they want to change. Some of the things that they have invested in their life, they don't want to keep investing in those things anymore, because maybe they did invest in some of those things before when they did have less hope and faith and belief in themselves. And we can all get in relationships when we're kind of feeling more afraid or in more codependent energy. And then as time goes by, we feel a little bit more confident within ourselves, a little more stable within ourselves, maybe have learned to love ourselves a little bit more. And while we were there, we did some work within ourselves to detach from some of our fears and our insecurities and some of our self-limiting beliefs that we are ready to move forward differently. And initially, we could just try to put work and effort with the people where we're at to try to hopefully encourage them to detach from some of their fears and insecurities or more codependent or worldly view of life to move forward with us. And again, with rejecting the Page of Pentacles, we all have lessons to learn in life. We can all have been more codependent at a point in time in our life. And then if we get to where we're not as codependent as we used to be, but the people we're in relationship with are still kind of more codependent, and then they like us to be more codependent, sometimes the people we're in relationship with don't want to be in a relationship with us anymore either, because we've changed and we're not the same person we were before. And if they still like living their life that way and we're not kind of living our life that way anymore, sometimes they don't want to be in the relationship with us anymore either. But for some people who kind of tip more into their shadowy nature, that's when their shadowy nature can come out. And people who harness a more shadowy Scorpio energy within themselves could be where they come out being a little bit more intimidating and controlling because they're trying to stop you from healing or growing or maturing. They want you to put an end to investing in healing and growing and maturing yourself, because if they're not willing to do that work, you're going to be ready to move forward to the next phase of life, and they're not. And then they could want to stay in the relationship, but sadly they kind of can go about it in a shadowy way where they try to be intimidating and controlling. And that's when people are like, I'm not your child and you are not my parent. And I don't like people trying to manipulate me or intimidate me or control me. And that's when you can see the truth that some people were hiding, that they maybe do operate from a little bit more shadowy, selfish, I want what I want and what you want is less important. And if you want to heal and grow and move forward in life differently, more aligned with loving and believing in yourself, and I don't want to do that because my idea was to keep moving forward with you, maybe me operating from my ego and you being loving, but now you want me to do some inner work to heal and grow and mature, and I don't think I should have to because I can go find someone else to just get in a relationship with. People have to be willing to admit that they even have some healing or growing or maturing to do. You have to get out of your pride and ego. And that's when it could have been shown that someone does operate more from their defensive or egotistical or self-centered way of life. And they like to be in a relationship with you because you might be loving and warm and nurturing and giving, but they don't really want to be that kind of person. And that's kind of when you see the truth. Virgo energy goes within to see the truth that, what I'm motivated and inspired by and how I want to move forward in life and what makes me happy and what brings me joy is being in high vibe Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Cancer, and Gemini energy, where people are open to love and they're warm and they're giving. It's kind of like they've learned lessons in life to free themselves from the things that stop them from being more open and loving and giving and warm and nurturing and supportive. They've gotten out of their ego and their defensive nature or their self-centered nature. And we can get in relationships with people, and people could have been hiding that they were more operating from, like, I'm going to get in a relationship with you. I want to get in a relationship. I want to be in a relationship that's good for my ego and my image. It makes me look like I'm moving forward victoriously. But they just really are kind of more harnessing all these energies in a more worldly or shadowy way. maybe a little more emotionally shallow, superficial, a little more defensive, a little bit more about ego and image than willing to be a student of life and be willing to do some inner work to keep growing and changing throughout their life. And they're just like, I'm good the way I am. And I'm happy living my life this way. If you want to go do life differently, you do life differently. And you, in turn, were saying to them, basically, if that's how you want to live your life, that's fine. You go live your life that way, but I can't live my life that way. And so then people can part ways. And some of you have already emotionally detached from some of those people. It takes time because, in our Scorpio energy, it talks about our deep emotional connections with people. And we're emotionally complex human beings. And we also would like the things that we've invested in to work out. So we don't have to go get a new job, a new friend, a new romantic relationship. And we can kind of be in our ego about it and kind of resistant to it. And we keep putting work and effort into it, not revealing the truth because we want it to work. But eventually it's like we can't hide from the truth. We view life differently. And so eventually everybody kind of gets, the high vibe people get out of their ego. And it's like, I choose love. And I wish you peace and love. But if you're not motivated and inspired by love and healing and growing and maturing, I am. So I wish you peace. Whoever you want to go get in a relationship with, go get in a relationship with them, But I'm moving on to go find other people who are motivated by love. Because it's kind of like, we have our more loving, intuitive nature and our more worldly nature, like the knowledge of the tree of good and evil within us. And some people are just more motivated by their worldly nature, instead of growing and learning and maturing to be more about love and treating other people the way you like to be treated and being more just and fair in relationships. Some people are like, if it's got the status and the image and the ego and the whatever, I'm good. It's shadowy Scorpio too can be, life's about death, sex, and taxes. I'm going to have sex with someone in a relationship. Who am I going to have sex with? It really doesn't matter. So again, kind of a little emotionally shallow and superficial. So the reason for the bottom rose reading is the Six of Pentacles. Some people like more transactional relationships. And in shadow, it would be more motivated and inspired by the world. Yeah, I want to be in relationships with people. I want to do give and take with some people. I want to exchange time, energy, hugs, and kisses with people. But it really isn't from a foundation of love. Does this work? Do we get along? Is it good for my ego and my image? Do we have stability, security, enjoy some of the finer things in life? I'm good. So let's go look at the story for them. The Scorpio death card in reverse. So that can be people who reject change. I do not want to transform my life. I don't want to put an end to my more worldly philosophy of life. I'm okay with my more worldly philosophy of life. And that's how I want to keep moving forward. And, we all think at any given moment of how probably we're living our life that that's a good decision or we probably wouldn't make it, And they think the wheel of fate is going to go in their favor. But I think the way the world is set up, that it is to learn these lessons in life and to realize the truth is it was supposed to be all about love. I mean, yes, if people are balanced within themselves, they love themselves, they believe in themselves, they're motivated and inspired to become all they can be, people put in work and effort to have stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life. But some people make those things of the world the most important thing, and they kind of get tipped out of balance where love becomes less important, or maybe being just and fair. Sometimes shadowy energy can be, I think it should be more about me. And I think the scales of justice should be tipped in my favor, and people should kind of indulge me in my shadow nature. If I'm immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, immature, whatever, I think people should kind of indulge me in it. And I would say that they have some lessons to learn. And the Wheel of Fortune also talks about we're going to reap what we sow. And they might not think that they're going to reap what they sow because if you're not being truthful and honest and authentic in a relationship, you're hoping you can kind of confuse other people about the truth, that either you have these fears or insecurities, or you're bossy or controlling or egotistical, and you think you can manipulate people into doing what you want. So they're going to keep moving forward the way they've been doing life. And we have the Temperance card, that they'll just keep balancing out their emotions about the fact that they love kind of repeating this old pattern. But the whole thing is, they might like repeating an old pattern. This is how I like to operate in relationships. No, I don't want to change. No, this is how my family did it. This is how I've always been in my relationships. This is how I want to stay. Well, it can be hard to find people. It's hard enough to find people that are on the same page as us at any given place in life, right? But if you have these certain patterns of ways of viewing relationship, and shadowy Taurus can be very stubborn, I have this certain way of how I view, say, the workplace. No, I am not willing to change anything. We're going to keep moving forward just like this because I love doing the workplace like this. Well, if they're kind of stubborn and prideful and they operate from their ego, they could be bossy, controlling, petty, immature. Who wants to keep working with someone like that? Inflexible, unwilling to look at life from anyone else's perspective. It's kind of their way or the highway. But that's what they think is the dream way to live life. That's their dream way of being. And sometimes people in a relationship, I have this certain idea of how people should act and be in a relationship. I do this, you do that. Then if I do this, you're supposed to do that. That's the way my parents did it. That's the way I want to do it. It's like, what about us creating our own life? Must we follow that old template? Well, no, this is the way my mom and dad always did it. It's like, well, we're not your mom and dad. And when were they growing up? They were growing up in what decade? And we're not in that decade anymore. Yeah, but this is the way I like it. This is my dream life. It's like, so we have to keep repeating this old pattern that you love because you were happy living life like that and growing up with people who are like that. So that's your dream relationship, but it's not based on love. Shadowy energy is like people who want to stay in denial of the truth, that we take the good things that we learn and then we put our own unique spin on it to make it our own. And some people are unwilling to do that. They hide the fact that they keep operating from their defensive egoic nature instead of taking creative, inspired action from love and listening to their intuition to guide them. Some people are so afraid. It's like they lack that creative spark within them to do anything new and unique or on their own. No, we have to follow whatever anybody else said we're supposed to do. I need to do what they did. It's like, well, do you have any ideas of your own? Where do we draw the line? How'd they have sex? Are we supposed to have sex just like they had sex? Do you know how they had sex? It's just kind of ridiculous. People pick and choose. So, but there again, it could just be their only goal is to look like they got all these things in the world. I just want to have an image. I just want to get married. I just want to have the certain status and image. And maybe that's what people in their life did. And they're repeating that past pattern. It's not about love. It's about getting in a relationship with someone where you have a certain status and image, where you look like a shining star in the world. Okay? Well, go get in a relationship who wants to be in a relationship with you because of the ego and the status and the image. That's an emotionally shallow, superficial relationship that seems like a good investment. And that's what you could have realized about some people, that they just lack that spark of creativity within themselves. Tell us what's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy that they might not see coming up. We have the Eight of Cups, the King of Pentacles, the King of Swords, because of the Five of Pentacles. So we start out with the Four of Pentacles. It takes time. Some of you have already moved away from bad employers, some friendships and relationships that didn't work out because people weren't inspired by love and to treat each other in a just and fair manner. And you had been kind of maybe holding back with the Page of Pentacles not showing itself. And for one, you could have been holding back from having a new beginning until you had emotionally detached and worked through all these issues about this past relationship, which I think is a good thing to do, because then the past is no longer part of your present. And with the 4 and the 5, it takes time. But I think this is saying eventually, for some people, and now for some other people, you are ready to detach from that old foundation. You've emotionally done the work to emotionally detach from that old foundation you'd been working with to be ready to invest in a new foundation. And for some of you, there might have been someone that you did make an offer to. It's just not that everybody knows it. Because for one thing, everybody don't know your business. But with this card not having shown itself, you could have made an offer to someone who you think is more grounded, stable, healed, mature, who you think is someone that is on the same page as you. And they also could be looking at you to try to gain insight and understanding. Have you really detached from that old foundation? Are you really ready to move forward in a new foundation? Because I don't want to invest in someone who still is caught up on someone in their past. And I think anybody you meet and anybody who approaches you, I think you're going to, maybe the Pentacles can talk about investing time, energy, and effort into people. And I think, instead of like maybe jumping into a relationship right away, like, oh my gosh, look, we're in a relationship. I think you would, before you invest in that, I think you would take your time to get to know them because you don't want, if you've been in relationships with other people who are kind of hiding the truth of what motivates and inspires them, you don't want to repeat that same pattern. So you kind of want to figure out, what drives them, motivates them. Is it ego? Is it image? Is it lust? Is it greed? Or have they been enlightened to the truth that it is about love? And are they operating from a more loving foundation than a more worldly or egoic foundation? And when you see the truth, you'll either end relationships with some people because they operate from a different foundation than you do. And the people who are on the same page as you, that will be the new beginning where you're done investing in reflecting and gaining insight and understanding, and you're ready to move forward in a new beginning. So the Five of Pentacles is, people will get ready if they're not ready already to move forward, and they're ready to be done with the emotional confusion and illusion about the past, to be more emotionally independent and get in a new workplace or relationship with other people who've also detached in the past and being caught up in the illusion of the world or their fear or their ego, who've also learned lessons in life, who are balanced within themselves and who are speaking the truth and take action in truth and love. And that's how you're going to move forward. And as you move forward in that energy, there's going to be other people who want to move forward with you because they see you are an emotionally mature, balanced person. Oh, you're not going to act petty and envious and jealous and vengeful and immature? Oh my God, I've been waiting for someone like you. And same way, if you're looking for a job, you might have had to leave one job and you're going to go look for another job, And when you are in this high vibe energy and being balanced and stable and grounded and mature, yeah, there's going to be other people that are going to want to hire you for a job or get in relationship with you. What's coming up for the people who might harness a little more worldly or shadowy Cancer energy, which can be, if I didn't say it already, where people kind of use their emotions manipulatively in a relationship to get what they want. And that could be a pattern that they're used to doing in their family or how they've lived their life. Okay. The Fool card, the Queen of Swords, the Six of Wands, the Justice card, and the reason they came out is because of the Queen of Wands card. What some shadowy people don't see coming, sometimes shadowy people, again, think that they can manipulate people. And I think we tend to think that other people are like us. And they're people who get manipulated by things, their pride, their ego, their fear, their insecurity, their more codependent nature, their lustful, greedy nature, or whatever. And they could have thought that you wouldn't look at life from a higher perspective, that you wouldn't love yourself, that you wouldn't keep believing in yourself to keep moving forward to get the justice you deserved. But you did take that leap of faith to do that. They thought you'd come back and repeat an old pattern of relationship with them or with others, that you wouldn't keep moving forward like in an emotionally balanced way, aligned with truth and love. And they maybe were hoping you were going to go run your life off into the ditch. And you didn't. And that surprises them because they don't ever do that. Another thing that might surprise them is there might be someone who they never thought wouldn't be more bold and brave and balanced and loving within themselves, who is willing to come back and get in a relationship with them. It could be someone they do know or someone they meet, but they could be surprised about that because, like, wow, I didn't think that you. They maybe did view that person as someone who was more stable or grounded within themselves, that they harness high vibe Capricorn energy, but they might, I don't know, might be someone who operates more from ego. And if they have gotten in relationships with people who wanted them to grow up and mature themselves and get out of their ego and be more just and fair, it's like, no, I know this person down here who I think lives their life the way I live my life, and I'm not ready to get out of my ego or look at life from a higher perspective. And I kind of like to look like a shining star. And I think if I get in a relationship with this person, they'll move forward with me in a relationship. And I think that's just and fair because really it's just all about me. And that's where some people might reap what they sow, where they think they can manipulate things, but life is about learning lessons. And if you reject loving people and aligning with your loving nature, you might manifest someone in your life who's more like yourself, and they might get someone in their life who also doesn't like to change, who also might be a little more transactional in a relationship, who also maybe is more motivated by money and status and image, who also tries to manipulate people to get what they want, and who could be kind of emotionally defensive to being more open or authentic or just and fair in a relationship, who, because they think it's just and fair to try to manipulate people and operate from their ego. And then justice is served. They're in a relationship with someone like themselves. And then they're going to have to decide, am I going to stay in this relationship or am I going to see the truth that I really don't like being in a relationship with someone like myself? And am I willing to see the truth that maybe I need to change if I want to keep people who are loving and balanced and walk the talk, and I want them to stay in a relationship with me? I have to be that type of person. And so there could be some people that kind of got themselves also in a mismatched relationship, or they were repeating an old pattern. And some of those people could now be seeing the truth that, gee, I have an opportunity to move forward with loving, nurturing people and align with my own loving nature. But I have to put an end to aligning with my more worldly Taurus energy. It isn't about just trying to balance out my emotions, being in a relationship with someone because of the status or the ego and image. You know, life's too short. I want to be in relationships with people who really motivate and inspire me, who aren't trying to manipulate and control me, who have my best interest at heart. And I know those people have grown up and are balanced and speaking the truth, and I need to get on that same page as them. And so then they could be doing this work within themselves before they make that offer to really be in that energy, because they also would want to be completely detached from the past and kind of the things that manipulate them, so that that is part of their past and no longer can manipulate them that way anymore. So there you go, Cancer energy. You're either going to get a new job, new friend, new romantic relationship, or just keep moving forward in this stable, victorious way, and things will happen for you because you are letting love and intuition guide you instead of fear and insecurity, and other people are going to want to join you. So there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.